In the shop today, we've got a Ford Ranger. This is a 2000 four-wheel drive. It's got the 4.0 in it, and the engine is really low on power, and it really is burning the oil. So the owner picked up a junkyard engine for it. So we're gonna pull this one out. I haven't pulled an engine out of one of these before, so I thought I would bring you along. Maybe you can learn from some of my mistakes, and we'll see how this goes. So we'll jump right in. And one of the first things I noticed that we got to remove is this snake skin. First thing I'm going to do is get the battery disconnected. Don't want to accidentally pull on something, short something out. I don't think I need the space, so I think I'll leave the battery in. We'll definitely get it disconnected. Next thing we're going to do is make a little room, get rid of the intake tube. And there we go. That opens up quite a bit. Next thing I'm going to do to make a little more room and to get some of the accessories off is pull the Serpentine belt. Okay, those two are out of the way. So our battery wire on the back is a 10 mil on this. For me, I like to put everything back on that I can, just so I don't have to hunt for it later. There's one little clip down here holding, looks like the heater core hose to the alternator. There we go. We'll leave everything right in there, set it in the bed. So we'll pop off our little bit of our wiring there. We'll get the AC pump out of the way. Figure out a way to get that strung up there so it's not going to damage anything. We got to get our throttle cable and our cruise cable off. So the main one's just a clip. We'll pull the two apart. And then cruise just pops out. Get that part over here out of the way. Throttle cable, we're just gonna have to squeeze those two little tabs. Pop that out of its clip. We'll also stick that out of the way. Now we did just put new plugs and wires in this. Definitely pull the wires, plugs. Since it was burning so much oil, I doubt they're any good, but we'll see when we get to them. Not 100% sure I need to, but I want to. I want to get the radiator completely out of the way so that when the motor moves, I don't have to worry about damaging that. So this is an automatic truck, which means it has a trans cooler built into the, right there's the other one down there, are the lines for the oil. So we'll have to crack those. But first, way down there, you see that hose clamp? I'm going to drain the coolant. Coolant drained, we'll get rid of some of the hoses. Okay, now that I got some of the coolant out, I'm gonna see if I can get the shroud stepped back so I can try to get the fan off. All right, that's out of the way. Let's get the coolant lines the rest of the way off. We'll pull the radiator, and then we can get into the fan. Okay, so I got a line wrench set, and I've got this thing backed up with a big crescent wrench. Okay, the top one broke free real good. Same thing on the one down here. Ooh, it's gonna be a little harder to back it up though. Okay, that one broke free good as well. With the tranny lines disconnected, it should just be these two upper mounts. So the coolant lines for the oil cooler are clipped to the bottom of the radiator. So make sure you unclip those before you pull it. Leave that behind. Now with our radiator out of the way, we can take our shroud out of the way. I don't know. It's hanging, it's not touching anything. We'll see. So start getting all our little stuff out of the way. Little vacuum hoses. Important thing to remember is the routing on some of this stuff, because it's only going to go back in one way. So actually, I'm using this video for some of that. I think we may as well get this entire tensioner assembly out. It's not going to stay. So I have to take the one tensioner off to get to the third bolt on this bracket. So we'll put that back on as soon as we get the other one out. Okay, that is off. Okay, so I have just vice grips on the pulley up against the water pump. Now I got it though. Make sure I keep hold of it so when it falls off, it is a little heavy. You didn't want to drop it. Here we go. With that out of the way, we can get our last hose off, and then we'll be able to get to the crank sensor. Get that off. That'll free up some of this wiring harness. So I'm actually going to leave the crank sensor plugged right in and just take the whole thing, bracket and all. There's a little bracket that holds the hose. I just want to get that out of the way too. And that's on one of the timing cover bolts. So now we can definitely get to motor mounts on this side. Next, let's get in and get this out of the way so we can get to the other one easy. Okay, so the return valve, or the return line is up underneath. Get the little clip, compress it, pull that down straight down, and then the other one is the pressure line on the power steering pump. So that's disconnected. And so now we'll get these three bolts out of the way. First two out, now just the center one. Okay, it's out. Okay, the next thing is this stainless steel fuel line. I just broke it free from the regulator, snake it around, and then there's a little bracket right down here. We'll just get that off and lay that off to the side as well. One more little, looks like oil pressure sensor down here at the bottom to unplug. And I think most of the plugs on the engine then will be undone, at least on the front end. There's that little guy. It's way down there. Oh, and that plug was broken. Hopefully the new motor's got one on. Okay, again, just to make as much room as possible, I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull the intake plug. most of our wiring harness is just laying here. I think we're gonna get it out of the way. So the oil dipstick is just held in by a bolt on top of the exhaust manifold. Get that out, wiggle it, it should come out. To get to some of the bell housing bolt, it's going to be much easier to go through this inner fender well. You can reach the upper one, which is right up there by that wiring harness, and then the second one down right there. So both of those you can get pretty easily from here. I'm going to see on the other side. Okay, same on this side, and you can also get to right there your O2 sensors. So definitely a lot easier. You can see that bracket maybe up just a little bit further in my light. Right there in the center of the shot. So that is for the dipstick tube. Got to get that aligned and then get this other one just down here. So bell housing bolts, definitely pull the front tires. Okay, so I do have the pipe dropped, but because of the drive shaft, it won't come all the way out. So instead of taking and risking any issues there, I'm gonna leave it dangle until I actually pull the motor. Then I'll pull it up out. It's gonna get installed. The new engine came yesterday. So there is the junkyard replacement that we're putting in there. Okay, right up here, it's probably hard for you to see, but you can see the dipstick tube for the transmission right here. There's a bracket right up there with one of the bell housing bolts. So this is the configuration I used. Impact, 1/2-inch drive, extension, extension, real long extension, extension, extension with a wobble, and then the 13 mil. That is like 4 feet of extensions, I believe. Okay, while you are underneath, finishing taking things off, there is this big blue plug. It's got, I'll show you it on the other engine because it's easier, your selector switch plug. And then there is a plug right up there on top. And then the wiring harness goes across to the other side and to the back, right back here. And this one is for the rear O2 sensor. So make sure you get all those. Sorry if that's all blurry, there we go. Here's the wiring harness on the junkyard motor. Here is the blue one. It's got this little swivel. It actually came off pretty easy. There is our neutral switch, just one that goes to the transmission, and then this is the one that goes all the way over to the O2 sensor. Okay, as you can see, I completely removed the wiring harness from the top of the engine, and the transmission side is all unhooked, but it's getting snagged on something, so I'm just going to leave it there, out of the way, hopefully, for the engine pull. So I just have the top 2 bolts back here. And there is a set of transmission cooling lines. I'm going to run this back up in the air because I have to get that bolt from the side of the engine. And I think that that is it. Okay, one last one I almost forgot was the upper starter bolt. So there it is, way down. One of the last things I did was pull the hood, which maybe should have been one of the first things I did, but didn't seem like I needed to. So I just got the motor mount bolts to do, 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and 1 more transmission bolt, bell housing to take out on the back. And we should be ready to pull it. Sorry, kind of got going, forgot to bring you along. I just took a strap, threw it through the exhaust manifolds, and started jacking it up. Popped out, no problem. We'll see once we get it up a little higher, make sure everything is free. Okay, so the motor is out. I left the starter down there. I just kind of let it hang until I could pick it back up. That bracket that holds the trans cooling, that's going to be tough because that's got to be squeezed back together when it goes on. That won't be fun. Other than that, everything is kind of out from under the hood. Here it is. I did just take a rag, put it in a bag, and stuff it in to the torque converter just to kind of not lose all the fluid in it. But all that's obviously got to come off and go onto the new motor. And we got to make sure we don't miss anything. So, gonna get this sitting on something so I can start tearing it apart, because I gotta take the exhaust manifolds off to put them on that engine. All right, the engine is back in. So basically I just did the reverse to put it back in. But the only thing is I did put the intake and left all that on. I didn't take it off when I put the engine back in. Other than that, it was just in reverse order. Hopefully the video helped. I know I had to go back and watch just to see which hose I put on top and which was on bottom to make sure I did it right. So hopefully you will have good success, and let me know in the comments if you would have done something different. Thanks for watching.